and I have started 28 series. And I have 51 started series. And we are at 73 started series. Hi! Hey! Hi! It's me, your Void, and we are going to fix the serious problem that I have now. Because what the fuck? As you saw in my intro, I have a talent for starting series and not one for finishing series. So for the year 2026, I gave myself the challenge to finish as many series as possible, which is going to be a feat because I'm really good at reading the first book in a series. I'm very bad at continuing series, let alone finish them. So in order to finish series, I kind of need to continue them first. And this is where this vlog project comes in. I'm challenging myself to make regular-ish vlogs in order to get my series numbered down. I want to catch up with as many as possible. I want to finish as many as possible. We will see how well that works. But for now, this is what we are doing. I thought about making it randomized, like smack all of my series on the spinner wheel, do a random number generator with one of my many spreadsheets, something like that, right? Just randomize the whole thing. But then Steph from Steph Loves comes around with the final book support group and says there is a round in January, so I was like, might as well do that, because that is a readathon all about continuing and finishing series. So for this first round, I just used that bingo board to select my reads, which gave me a bit more control over what I'm reading, which quite honestly, I actually kind of enjoyed. Just a bit of mood reading to start the year off. Cool, love that. I also instinctively, knowing that I want to continue series, put some series on my normal January TBR, so if you haven't seen that, go check that out. I will count these towards this project, simply because it's a desperate situation and I kind of need that. So, yeah. But the aim of this game is to just continue and finish series, as many of them as possible. So, yay. Let's go. It is day one of the final book support group, and with that is going to be the first day of this here funny vlog. I will start with continuing Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston, simply because that is on my January TBR anyways, and it's a middle grade, so even though it is 432 pages long, should be able to go through it rather quickly, because middle grades just read fast. And I will see what I read next, like after that. I have a list, because of course I have a list. I was provided a bunch of prompts, so of course I made a TBR for it. I'm not telling you that TBR, so you cannot be disappointed when I don't met that TBR. But small spoiler, I will try to finish at least one series, if not two, in this vlog. Wish me luck. I technically already got a head start on it, because last week was Winterween, and I did read continuations for Winterween. Not very big things. I actually don't even track the series I continued, because I don't track my comics or my manga series, because they tend to be very, very long. And most of the time they are also still ongoing, so I don't necessarily count them, but technically I continued the House of Slaughter series because I read volume 5, The Butcher's War, and I continued the Brutal mangas with reading volume 3, and I think there are currently 5 out. Not quite sure about that. So technically I already continued something this year, but like nothing that I'm tracking for my series Slayer slasher project. I always want to say Series Slayer, even though I'm pretty sure I named it Series Slasher. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to get myself a coffee and then I'm going to start reading Amari and then great game. Not Night Brothers. Great game. Good morning. I have finished my first continued series read for this vlog, which is, as I promised in the last clip, Amari and the Great Game, which is book 2 in the Amari and Paranormal Investigations trilogy. I think it's a trilogy. No, I think there's a 4th book coming, right? I don't know. I read the 2nd book in the Amari series by B.B. Olson, and it's a middle grade, so I wasn't expecting any deep layered coolness that I'm usually reading with like all of my fantasy stuff. So I was kind of bored for the most part. That is exactly why I don't usually read a bunch of middle grade. I started the Amari series in the first place because my younger cousin enjoys these kind of stories, and I mean, we all know what happened with the Harry Potter books, so I'm like, okay, cool. I need to find alternatives so this kid can read good books. I already hooked him on Percy Jackson, so I started Amari trying to figure out if that is something he could enjoy, but I think at this point he's too old to read that. I think he's too old to read Amari, but I started the series and I still kind of enjoy it enough to keep going. And that is exactly what happened with this 2nd book. I was bored for the most part because it's a middle grade story. It's not very deep. It's not very brain cell demanding. It is a solid read for a middle grade. Don't get me wrong. For a middle grade, for the age range it is intended, it is very good. But I am not that age range. Period. There's nothing else I can say about that. So I was bored for the most part. But the ending was one where I had the same thing with book 1. The ending was written in a way that made me excited enough for the next book, for how this story will turn out, that I still want to continue with the series. I guess I have a filler for any time the outside of your comfort zone prompt pops up. Because I don't read middle grade, and I don't necessarily like reading middle grade because they are for the audience that they are for. I like myself some political scheming, and even though the plot line in the grade game was one where you had many factions scheming in the background, because the main character is only 13 years old, she's not part of that political scheming. So, yeah. But it's a solid read if you have a kid in that age range and you don't want them to have to read the no-no books. Go for Amari! Go for Amari! It is so fun. It sits at the intersection of Percy Jackson and the no-no books, because it is all about magic, not about being a demigod, but we're also not going to school, we're going to a summer camp. It's literally right on the Venn diagram. It is right there. It is right there, and it's very cool. And there are some really cool mechanics. And oh my god, the whimsy of it all. The dream department doesn't even exist in the blueprints because it only exists inside a dream. So you only go into a room where you go to bed to enter the department of dreams. The Department of Time is only one old dude who accidentally became immortal. That is the kind of stuff I'm here for. It's so good. It is so cute and whimsical. It is just perfect. So yeah, if you want a solid middle grade read, go for Amari. Good shit. If you're used to political intrigue and actual war, might be a bit boring. Yes, hi, hello, you get a beautiful new angle with a J.J. Abrams lens flare, because I don't know. There is nothing reflecting there. It's just, I don't know. But yeah, new angle, who this? Because I need to do some things, but I also want to talk to you about a book. Plural, books that I finished. The first one being Scarlet Angel by St. Abby, Stabby, which is the third book in the Mindfuck series. Yes, it's the Scarlet Angel, the 3rd book in the Mindfuck series. So I decided to read that and finish that because I love the Mindfuck series so far, and it is a series, and this is the whole thing about this vlog, right? Finishing series. So here we are, me reading series. I gotta say, book 3 felt a bit more like filler. It felt a bit more like filler, and I think at this point, I have read 3 out of 5 of the novellas that make the Mindfuck series. It reads very much like all of these things belong together in one book. It is a bit like the Vicious Lost Boys series by Nikki St. Crow, where you have technically these multiple novellas that then make a series, but they read as if they belong in one book, as if they are just parts of a bigger thing. And this third one, it is right in the middle of the series, and it reads like the middle of a book. It is giving filler. It is giving minor things that happen in it to then set up the finale of the book. So it's hard to review that just standing on its own. It feels like filler, and I myself am not necessarily a fan of the filler book. If you've been around my channel for a hot second, you will know that I have been hurt by second book syndrome a lot, in trilogies specifically, because it's just this middle book where you have to fill a bunch of stuff between book 1 and book 2 for some reason. So, yeah. Act 2 just isn't something I vibe with. I'm allergic to Act 2, apparently. I do understand it is a necessary thing to happen in books and stuff. And I'm not allergic to any and all Act 2s. There are good Act 2s out there. It's just that I always know I'm in Act 2 when I get bored. I'm not saying I was bored by Scarlet Angel. It's just a lot calmer than book 1 and 2 were. It's a lot less happening. It's still a bunch of stuff happening. Like, we still kill people left, right, and center. We still have to juggle the fact that we are a serial killer dating an FBI profiler who is hunting us. There's still stuff going on. But it's very much just coasting along. It's very much coasting. So I don't really have thoughts on it other than that. It is very much an Act 2. It is very much the middle of a bigger story. It is very much just coasting along. Doesn't mean it's bad, because I do love Lana and Logan. I do like these characters, and I do like the story, but I think you have to read the entire Mindfuck series in like one go, because it was meant to be a single book. And the second thing I want to talk about is When the Tiger Came Down the Mountain by Niveau, which is the second book in the Singing Hills cycle, if I remember the series name right. And that one, I love the Singing Hills cycle so much. It feels like old school fairy tales. As someone who grew up on the original Grimm's fairy tales, this is sending me back to my childhood, where you just have these, if you think about them, very strange situations certain characters find themselves in. Like in Grimm's fairy tales, you have talking wolves who just show up and knock on the door. You have you have the goats who are just talking, and the mother has to go to the market to catch it. You just have talking animals and shit, right? You just have these weird things, and characters, they don't question that. They don't question that the goat is speaking. They don't question that the wolf is speaking. They don't question that the wolf could dress up as a grandma or something like that. They just don't question it. It's part of their world. And this same essence is in the Singing Hills cycle. And in The Tiger Comes Down the Mountain, you have Chi, this priest who is tasked with just chronicling absolutely everything on this planet for some reason. And they hang out with some people who are from the Mammoth Corps. They breed mammoths, and they train to ride on them, and they train to fight on mammoth back. And she has to pass this mountain pass, I think. And one of those Mammoth Corps people is like, yeah, no, sure, I can get you up there. You can do whatever you want to do, and then I get you to the other side. And we follow these two characters, so they just we first and foremost, there are mammoths. Second, we ride on mammoths up a mountain. And then third, this is where the story comes in, we get stuck on the mountain because we are getting attacked by tigers. It's just three tiger sisters. They attack the mammoth and the chronicler and the mammoth handler. And therefore the mammoth handler and the chronicler are stuck in a barn on a snow-covered mountain. And the tigers are like, well, if you tell us a good story, we might not eat you. Because the tigers speak, because of course they do. And one of them shapeshifts into a human. And then we hear about a story about a shape-shifting tiger who fell in love with a human because they accidentally married each other. And it is just beautiful. It is so beautiful. It has this charm of old-timey fairy tales where weird stuff just happens and people just accept that it is there. And it is not remarkable in any kind of way, and they just focus on the story and the moral of the story, and the storytelling is the important part, and I'm just so in love with it. I'm just so in love with it. Also, shape-shifting tigers? Hello? So cool! So I gave Scarlet Angel 3.5 stars, and I gave When the Tiger Came Down the Mountain 4 stars. That's literally all I can tell you about that. They are both novellas, so they're not that long. There's not that much to go into when talking about them, but I loved both of them for very different reasons. In terms of the Mindfuck series, I'm very interested in seeing where it is going from here, because it can only go up after Act 2. So, yay. And I think because we have arrested the major serial killer in the story so far, and we are closing in on what happened to Lana in the past. So I think from here on out we will focus on what is going on with Lana and why Lana is the way she is. So there will probably be some tension between her and keeping her secret and her relationship with Logan. So I'm excited for that. In the Singing Hills cycle, there's not really a through line other than we follow Chi. So I'm excited to see whatever weird stuff happens next to Chi and what they are chronicling. And yeah, I'm very much here for both of these series. While I have you here, I will also give you an update that I have started and am halfway through Faithbreaker by Hannah Kaner, which is the third and final book in the I don't know, does the series have a name? Does it? I don't know. But it's the third and final book with the Godkiller premise. So we have Godkiller, Sunbringer, and then it's Faithbreaker, and I'm currently halfway through Faithbreaker. And yes, I aim to finish that one for this vlog. So I will see you when I have done that. Cool. Final update of this vlog, because I finished the final read I wanted to put into this video, which is Faithbreaker by Hannah Kaner, which is the final book in the Fallen Gods trilogy. Look at me, finally learning the name of this series. Only took me all 3 books. I read Faithbreaker and yes, so much yes. This is the reason why I need to finish all of those fantasy series I have started. Because when you get to the end, and it ends, things are just cool and amazing and if you know what I mean. But yeah, scroll back to the beginning of this thing. Faithbreaker is the final book in this trilogy. In the first book, we learn about Kissen, we learn about Inara, we learn about Skadi, we learn about Elagast, and the baggage they bring. In book 2, I had this criticism that it didn't quite connect because the characters were all over the place. Elo was here, Inara was here, Kissen was somewhere completely different. I felt a bit disconnected because everyone was everywhere, and the thing that made book 1 work was the dynamics between all of those characters. So in book 3, when they are all back together, kind of, shit started to work again. So in book 3, we are separated into 2 groups. We have Kissen and Inara going somewhere, and we have Elo and Aren be somewhere else for reasons. Kissen and Inara need to get help for the war. Aren and Elo fight the war and try to keep going until Kissen and Inara come back with the reinforcements. So far so good. Because we now have at least 2 characters from the previous books in the same place, we can build on the dynamics between these characters, which is so messy for so many reasons. All of them happened in the first 2 books. And it's so good. It's so good because they are not solved in like just, okay, I'm sorry, I apologize, okay, cool, we're bestest of friends again. They actually sit with their grudges. They sit with what happened to them. They sit with what has been done to them. And this is where it gets even messier because they still go back. You know this when you like question, hey, there are all these red flags about this situation, this thing, this person, and you still go back to them. These characters still do that. And we see them grapple with the fact that they know they shouldn't do that. And they still do it. So good! And on top of all of that, we get a ginormous war of gods and mortals in between that thing. We also get political scheming on the battlefield and behind the scenes. And we get more religious cult stuff that goes places. It's so good. It's also very hard to talk about this without spoiling anything. Probably should have thought about that before I started making these videos. Alas, here I am. So the one thing I would like to critique on this is there is a romance in here that we don't need. It kind of comes out of nowhere. I don't mind the romance once it gets going. I just mind the fact that the romance exists in the first place. The romance itself is fine. I just don't understand why we needed to put it in. Because it doesn't necessarily come from a logical place. It feels like it's in there for these specific characters because some other characters get their romance, which has been hinted at since book 1. So it feels like we had to put it in to balance some imaginary scales, which I don't think was needed. Because A, again, this romance doesn't make sense the way it happens, and B, these characters are messy. These characters are messy. If you want to put another romance in there, choose other characters to make it even more messy. Really struggling to not spoil anything. So my main critique is that romance. The second kind of critique I would have is that yes, we have this cult. We have this cult in there. This storyline. Technically, by this point, it's 2 different cults and they are opposing each other. And this second cult only starts in this book. It's literally what we kick book 3 off with, is the note, okay? These people are here, and they are fucking fanatics. And they only get worse throughout the book. But we don't see a lot of them. We don't deep dive into them. It's just, we have another NPC with dialogue lines, and they are always standing in the back corner, and you kind of have to imagine that they are always watching until they start speaking. It's basically they're just hovering there. But we're not acknowledging the fact that they are constantly hovering, that they are constantly working in the background to do a certain thing until the certain thing happens. So that was a bit, it didn't feel necessarily lackluster, it's just that I wanted more. It's just enough to justify what they do, but I wanted more. We get the political scheming, we get the war. Why can't we also get the cult? You know? The book is only about 430 pages long or something. And that is like half of what most high fantasy final books do. Like, that's just, like, look at this. I haven't read it yet. But The 1,000 Deaths of Ardor Ben. This is book 1. This is book 1. It's, how big is it? It's 734 pages long. This is book 1. More examples. This is book 2 out of 5. The Blinding Knife is the second book in the Lightbringer series out of 5. This is without the super long appendix. 707 pages long. Let's take a final book. Didn't necessarily like Joe Abercrombie, but The Large Argument of Kings is the 3rd book in a trilogy. And it is 670 pages long. So you would have had at least around 200 pages more to do something. And that would have been more than enough to dive into the shenanigans of this cult. Also, if you cut out the unnecessary romance, you gain a couple of pages more to work with. You know? So, slight critique on that. But yeah, other than those 2 things, the fact that we didn't zoom in on the cult enough, and the fact that the romance was completely unnecessary, I loved everything about this. I gasped at the end, I screeched at the end. I might even there were maybe some, not tears, let's just say my eyes were thoroughly hydrated at the end there. And I like, that's another thing I really, really, really like, and I really have to be careful about my wording here. These characters all get a happy end, but it's not a cookie cutter perfect happy ending. And I like that, because all of these characters are so messy, it wouldn't feel right to give them such a cookie cutter experience at the end. They do get their happy ending, yes, but in a way that is just completely and utterly non-perfect. Which makes it so perfect. I love that. I love that. I gave that 4.5 stars. I don't remember the rating that accurately, but it was a really good book. So with that, I can say I loved the Fallen Gods trilogy. I loved the entire series. Good shit. If you want to read high fantasy, but don't want to commit to 800-page books, go for it. The first book is just about 300 pages long. The second book is 350, 375, and then the last book is just over 400 pages long. So it's a very digestible size for someone going into fantasy. And I actually think it is a good entry series for someone who wants to get into high fantasy, because you have all of the elements, gods, magic, politics, war, you have all of that stuff, but it's not presented in a way where you need a super long glossary or, I don't know, a university degree to understand what's going on. I would really recommend this for beginner fantasy readers, other than Brandon Sanderson, because for Brandon Sanderson you do need a bachelor in understanding what the fuck he's doing. And with that, I have continued 5 series this month. I have finished 1, and I have started 3. For this, I'm counting all of the books I read in January, not just the ones I read in this vlog. And going forward, I will add to these numbers. I will not give them like month by month, because I will not make one of these vlogs every month, but I will keep track throughout the year how many series I started, how many I continued, and how many I finished. And hopefully, by the end of the year, we can drop the 73 down into a bit more manageable areas, words. I don't know, it's actually kind of early. I only have 1 coffee in my system, and it's actually kind of running out. I also should probably think about eating something. So this is it. This has been the first installment of my series Slayer. I really need to settle on a name. Series. And I actually think it went quite okay. It was inspired by the Final Book Support Group again. I don't know what I will do for the next round. Probably just smack all of my series on a spinner wheel or something, and then see what happens. If you have any suggestions of how to pick the series I'm going to read for these vlogs, let me know in the comments down below. And yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe, because that is apparently what appeases the almighty YouTube algorithm. And if you made it to the end of this video, let me know in the comments, A, if you have a suggestion for me picking these reads, B, if you have read any of these series, what did you think about the Fallen God series if you have read it, or if you want to read it now, what do you expect from the series? And if you don't want to talk to me at all, leave an arrow forward, like the fast forward emoji down in the comments below. And yeah, I guess I will see you in the next video. Bye.